بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا ابن رسول الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة، ويا باب نجاة الأمة، ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة، يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وما كان المؤمنون لينفروا كافة فلولا نفر من كل فرقة منهم طائفة ليتفقهوا في الدين ولينذروا قومهم إذا رجعوا إليهم لعلهم يحذرون. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Times have definitely changed from the time that Allah Azza wa Jal revealed the Holy Quran to the Prophet to our times. Things have not remained the same. The world has changed drastically. Means of transportation have changed. Means of communication have changed. Matters of hygiene, cleanliness, water, fresh water. Previously, people did not have showers or even toilets in their homes. They would have to leave the house, go somewhere else. Today, there's running water, there's faucets in every home. Things have changed. Lives of people have changed drastically. Technology has taken us to a whole nother level. But we notice that as lives have changed, the world has changed, Islamic laws have not changed. Islamic laws have remained the same. Despite the fact that people shower and have running water in their homes, nevertheless, wudu is mandatory every day, 5 times a day for every salah. Ghusl is wajib when you need to perform ghusl, and so on and so forth. The laws of traveling have not changed. Travel itself has changed. Means of transportation have changed, but the laws of transportation, the laws of traveling have not changed. Hence, here there are 2 very important questions. The first question is that how can a legal system that does not change accommodate a world that constantly changes? We have fixed laws in Islam. These laws in Sahihatu Zurara عن الإمام الصادق عليه السلام, he says, حلال محمد حلال أبدا إلى يوم القيامة وحرامه حرام أبدا إلى يوم القيامة. The halal of Muhammad will remain halal until the day of judgment. And his haram will remain haram until the day of judgment. لا يكون غيره ولا يجيء غيره. This will never change. So the question is, life is always changing, but laws do not change. And how are Islamic laws meant to accommodate an ever-changing system, an ever-changing world? This is the first question. The second question is there a gray area in fiqh? In Arabic, we call it منطقة الفراغ. What do we mean by منطقة الفراغ? What do we mean by a gray area in our fiqh system? Meaning that is there an area that Islamic law has not touched upon, has not discussed? For example, we believe that the 5 Islamic laws, al-wujub, obligation, al-hurma, forbiddance, al-istihbab, recommendation, karaha, unrecommendation, and ibaha, something that is neutral. These 5 laws, they encompass every single act that we perform in life. From marriage, to eating, to drinking, to walking, to sleeping, to writing, to reading, to everything that we do. Everything that we do, it falls under one of these 5 laws. The question is there an area where Islamic law has not encompassed? Are there certain circumstances that Islam did not discuss? It remains a gray area. Islam does not say, did not provide a law for certain cases. Is that the case? Is there such an area? Or does Islamic law encompass our entire life and every department of our life and every behavior that we perform? Or no? Is there a gray area left for the mujtahids, left for scholars to decide, or left for human innovation? Is there such a thing or not? Here, the popular opinion states that we do not have a gray area in fiqh. There is no gray area. There is no منطقة الفراغ. There is no empty area of legislation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislated a law for every act that we perform. Even when going to the restroom, even when eating, even when traveling, every act that we perform has an Islamic law. It has been discussed. You cannot escape from one of the 5 laws: wujub, hurma, istihbab, karaha, and ibaha. So there are no gray areas in Islamic law, because the Sharia encompasses all aspects of life. It did not leave a single area undiscussed. If the popular opinion states that if we believe there is a gray area in Islam, an empty area of legislation, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala left several areas unlegislated, that means Islam is incomplete. While the Quran says, اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. Today I have perfected your religion. I have completed your, akmalt means I have completed your religion. So how could religion be complete when there are some areas that are gray, that are not discussed? Islam did not prescribe laws into certain areas. That negates with the completion and perfection of religion. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم. Hence, our scholars believe in a principle. This principle is called ما من واقعة إلا ولله فيها حكم. This principle says that there is not a case, not a behavior, not an act, lest it has a law in Islam. Bring me any case, any behavior, any sort of transaction, any sort of food, any sort of drink, it has a law. It is either wajib, or haram, or mustahab, or makruh, or mubah. All acts, all the acts that we perform, anything that we perform, anything that we do, it falls under these categories. What is the proof for this? What is the proof that there is a law, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed a law for every act? And not just that, but this law is in the Quran and in the Sunnah. that Allah did not leave any act without being prescribed for it a law. What is the proof? Allah says in the Holy Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. We have revealed the Quran for you to clarify for you everything. تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. The Quran came to clarify, to teach, to prescribe regarding everything. كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. كُلِّ شَيْء means everything. All aspects of life. So there is no gray area. There is no area that was not discussed by Islam. Either specifically or what? Generally. The Quran either specifically addresses certain topics and aspects and areas, or it addresses them generally. You cannot run away. Either this or that. تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. And we have several ahadith from the Imams that everything is in the Quran and the Sunnah. Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran and the Imams and the Sunnah, they did not leave a single aspect undiscussed or unaddressed. They addressed everything. And Sahihati Hammad, and this narration has an authentic chain of narrators, عن أبي عبد الله عليه السلام قال سمعته يقول ما من شيء إلا وفيه كتاب وسنة. Everything has been addressed either by the book, the Holy Quran, or by the Sunnah. Nothing has been left unaddressed. And in another hadith by Al-Mu'alla ibn Khunais, مرسلة Al-Mu'alla ibn Khunais, قال أبو عبد الله عليه السلام ما من أمر يختلف فيه اثنان إلا وله أصل في كتاب الله. There is nothing that two people disagree on, but you will find it in the Holy Book. You will find the origin of it in the وَلَهُ أَصْلٌ فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ. You can trace back that argument to the Holy Quran. And you will find the solution in the Holy Quran. في كتاب الله عز وجل. وَلَكِنْ لَا تَبْلُغُهُ عُقُولُ الرِّجَالِ. However, our minds, the minds of mankind, don't reach that. Some will say, Sayyid, there are so many topics, so many issues that we face in our day-to-day lives, but they're not mentioned in the Quran. No, you assume they are not mentioned in the Quran. They are mentioned in the Quran. If not in the Quran, in the Sunnah. If not specifically, generally they have been touched upon. There's a principle, there's guidelines for all aspects of life. Another hadith, عن أبي الحسن موسى عليه السلام قلت له أكل شيء في كتاب الله وسنة نبيه. Is everything in the Holy Book and the Sunnah of the Prophet? أو تقولون فيه, or do you give your own opinion? Is everything in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet, or do you give your opinion? The Imam says بل كل شيء في كتاب الله وسنة نبيه. He says no, everything is in the Quran. Everything can be traced back to the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa alihi. Here, there is a theory ascribed to Shaheed As-Sayyid Muhammad Baqir Al-Sadr, rahmatullahi alayh. The theory of the gray area in fiqh. منطقة الفراغ في التشريع الإسلامي. As-Sayyid Muhammad Baqir Al-Sadr, rahmatullahi alayh, who had many theories, who didn't leave a certain aspect of Islamic studies without being addressed with a theory by Shaheed Al-Sadr, rahmatullahi alayh. Well, he died at the age of 48 or 49. But he left his footprint on all studies, in fiqh, in usul, in rijal, in tafsir, in theology, in philosophy. In most of these fields, he left a trace. Here, Shaheed Sayyid Muhammad Baqir Al-Sadr has a theory. He says that there is a gray area in fiqh in the following. Now, please pay attention to what the theory entails. Shaheed Sayyid Muhammad Baqir Al-Sadr says that we have wajibat, muharramat, we have acts that we must perform like salah, zakat, sawm, hajj, and so forth. And there are muharramat, there are things that are forbidden in Islam, like adultery, like drinking, like fornication, and so on and so forth. And then there's mubahat. Mubahat is everything in between. Even the things that are mustahab, essentially they are mubah. Mubah meaning that you could do them, you could not do them. The choice is yours. Of course, it's better to perform. Makruhat are things that are discouraged, but at the end of the day, it's your choice. It is better not to do them, but if you wanted to do them, you could do them. And then there's something that is mubah, not even recommended, not even discouraged, like drinking water, for example. It's up to you. Would you like to drink water or no? Al-Shaheed Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, he says that a jurist has the authority to change laws of mubahat, the things that are mustahab, makruh, mubah. He has the authority to change them into wajib or haram. He has the authority to change them into wajib and haram. He has that authority. The Sharia gave him the choice. Of course, it doesn't mean that the Sharia doesn't have laws in the gray area. This is the meaning of the gray area. The gray area means that the jurist has the authority to change some laws that are mubah. Mustahab, you could make it haram. Makruh, you could make it haram or wajib. Mubah, you could make it wajib or haram. So the gray area in that there is absolutely no law, an aspect of life, a certain act that was not even addressed. No. Shaykh al-Sadr, he says we don't have such a thing. All aspects of life, all behavior, all acts, they've been addressed. They have a law. But a jurist has the authority to change the mubahat into wajib or into haram. However, not arbitrarily. Not because a mujtahid, all of a sudden he woke up in the morning and he said, you know what, let me change this mustahab into wajib. Or let me change this makruh into haram. No. Not arbitrarily. There has to be a greater good or a grave danger or a great interest for the Muslims, for the mu'mineen. Because of a greater good, a very important cause, here the mujtahid can step up. The Sharia has given him the authority to change something mustahab into wajib, or makruh into haram, or something mubah into wajib or haram. Now let me give you a few examples. Wa salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Before giving the examples, this law that the mujtahid changes, it is temporary. It is not forever. It applies only when that greater good exists. When the greater good no longer exists, that law also dissolves. If there is a grave danger, and hence something makruh, he gives a fatwa and he makes it haram because of a grave danger. As long as the grave danger exists, that law exists. When the grave danger goes away, that law also goes away. So this law that changes in the gray area, and the gray area in mantaqat al-faragh, is temporary or permanent? It's temporary. Now, Al-Shaheed al-Sadr, rahmatullah alayhi, he's been wrongfully accused of believing in a gray area in fiqh, meaning there are parts of life that were not discussed by the Sharia. This is wrong. He does not believe in this. He believes that all aspects of life have been discussed by Sharia. However, the mujtahid, the jurist, has been given the authority to change if the need be it, if there is a necessity, if there is a greater good, there's a maslahah, there's a grave danger, for example, he can change the mubahat into either wajibat or muharramat. Now let's give a couple of examples. Al-Mirza Shirazi, rahmatullah alayhi. Al-Mirza Shirazi was one of our grand scholars who was in Najaf, and then he moved to Samarra, and he moved the Islamic seminary, Al-Hawza al-Ilmiya, from Najaf to Samarra. Mirza al-Shirazi was a very well-known scholar and very special in his knowledge and his personality and his administration skills were extraordinary. At the time, there was a monopoly by the British government over what? Tobacco, the sale of tobacco, the sale of cigarettes. There was a monopoly. And this put the Islamic world in danger. There were a lot of people that were smoking. They would smoke tobacco, cigarettes, even any forms of smoking tobacco. There was a monopoly. by the British government. And you know, when there's a monopoly, you decide the price, you decide the supply and demand, you have control. At the end of the day, there is control by the British government. Sayyid al-Shirazi gave a fatwa banning buying and selling of tobacco. Now, when you buy and sell tobacco, is this wajib, haram, mustahab, makruh, or mubah? What do you say? It is mubah. Of course, today there are some scholars that have a different opinion on smoking. That's another story. Whether smoking is halal or haram, that's a different story, and I have a lecture on this on YouTube. Smoking in itself is mubah. Buying cigarettes is mubah, meaning, and it's not haram, and it is not makruh, and it is not wajib, and it is not mustahab. It was mubah. But Al-Mirza Shirazi, he made it what? Haram. Why? Because this was a gray area. He felt this is a gray area. He has the authority to change something mubah into something haram. Why? Because there was a grave danger. There was a grave danger upon the Muslim ummah. If smoking had remained mubah, there would have been a monopoly and Muslims would have been in danger. They would have lost a lot of money. There was a grave danger for the Muslims. Here, the Sayyid stepped in and he made something that is mubah, he made it into haram. They say, and look at the power of our ulama. Look at the power of our ulama. The Shah of Iran, at the time, he would smoke shisha. He would smoke shisha. One day, he asked his servants, bring me tobacco. They told him there's no tobacco. Go to the markets and bring me tobacco. They told him there's no tobacco in the markets. Why? They told him Al-Mirza Shirazi gave a fatwa. There's a fatwa banning the selling and buying of tobacco, and hence you will not be smoking shisha. Imagine the king of the time. He was affected by a fatwa by one of our scholars, one of our ulama. Look, this is the power and greatness of our ulama in Shia Islam. Others do not have this power, my dear friends. Others do not have this power. And hence there are conspiracies and attacks on our ulama every day. Why? Because they want to strip them of this power. They want to strip them of this authority. Another example, my dear friends, وَصَلَّى عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَعَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ. Let me give you another example. Voting. Voting in any country. I'm not specifically speaking about the United States of America. Voting in any country. In the US, in Iraq, in Iran, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan. Voting in itself is what? Wajib, mustahab, makruh. It is mubah. It is mubah. It is your choice. Whether you'd like to vote or you don't want to vote, the choice is yours. It is mubah. However, the marja', the mujtahid, can step in and say it becomes wajib. If democracy is at stake, if there's a grave danger for the mu'mineen, for Muslims, maybe there is someone else running for power that can put Muslims in danger. Here, the mujtahid has the ability, has the authority to step in and say, although voting is mubah, but I will issue a fatwa and I will make it wajib. This is another example. A third example, monopoly. In Islam, monopoly is haram. It is forbidden to have monopoly over anything. Of course, there are narrations that forbid monopoly over the essential foods. Essential foods. Some ulama, they've said, no, it's not just essential foods, but rather monopoly is haram over anything essential. Anything essential, like electricity, like clothing, like the internet, for example. Here, there's a debate among scholars. There are some scholars that say monopoly is haram only over the essential foods that we need, and others have went on to say, no, not just food, but anything essential. طيب. Monopoly is haram. Why? Because you will command the market. The market will be in your hands. Supply and demand. You will gather whatever it is, that material from the market, and you will control the price. Because it's in your hands, the supply is in your hand. And this will bring destruction. This will bring destruction. Imagine if monopoly was allowed. Something that is worth $20, you will buy it for $2,000. An item that is $5, you will buy it for $500 because of monopoly. Here, monopoly is haram. However, selling an item, this is mubah. The one who monopolizes, for him to sell, this is mubah. However, a mujtahid can tell him, it is wajib upon you to sell. It is wajib upon you to sell. Why? To end monopoly. To end monopoly, he could tell him it is wajib upon you to sell, and that is what? Something mubah, it turns into wajib. Because of that gray area where the mujtahid has the lenience, he has the ability to control, to issue a fatwa in that gray area. Another example, my dear friends. And this is something that applies in this country. Owning weapons. Here, it's the Second Amendment in the US Constitution, the right to bear arms. And a lot of people, they have arms. And we've seen the destruction that it's caused. School shootings, university shootings, at churches, at synagogues, at mosques. Anyhow, here in this country, you have the right to bear arms. And even in Islam, you have the right to own a weapon. However, can you sell your weapon? If you own a gun and you like to sell it, are you allowed? Yes, it's mubah. It is not wajib, it is not haram, it is not makruh, and it is not mustahab. It is something that you own, and you have the right to sell anything that you own. However, if there are enemies purchasing the weapons of the mu'mineen, the Shia, for example, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Pakistan, there's a group going around, going to Shia areas, buying their weapon. What do you think? Is selling your weapon becomes mubah, or does it become haram? Haram. In this case, why? Because your enemies are buying your weapons. You are left without weapons. And hence we see several years ago in Iraq, there was a group buying weapons from southern Iraq, from the Shia areas, specifically Shia areas. Here, Ayatollah Sayyid Qazwini al-Ha'iri from Qom, he issued a fatwa banning. He made it haram. Do not sell your weapons because this is a conspiracy. There's a grave danger. And hence something mubah comes into something haram. Or sometimes it becomes wajib. It becomes wajib. If the mujtahid sees that if everyone owns a gun, in every house there's a gun, there's a chance that there will be conflict. Like we saw here in the United States of America, there might be school shootings, there might be church shootings. Someone goes in the mall, takes out a weapon and starts shooting. Here, maybe the marja' will see that it is wajib. It is wajib to sell your weapon. It all depends on the greater good. The greater good sometimes entails it haram for you to sell, sometimes it entails it wajib for you to sell. This is left to the mujtahid to decide. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. طيب. But does that mean that a mujtahid can change the mubahat into anything that he likes? What is the guideline? What is the principle? You'll ask Al-Shahid al-Sadr because he's the one who holds this theory. Now, if a mujtahid wants to change a mubah into either wajib or haram, what are the guidelines? What are the rules? Is it something arbitrary? Is it up to the mujtahid to decide? Depending on his taste, depending on his whims, depending on his personal interests? What are the guidelines? The guidelines, my dear friends, is that the mujtahid has to follow the general themes and aspirations of the Quran. What are the general themes of the Quran? Those general themes of the Quran, they will guide the mujtahid in knowing which law to change. And when he changes this mubah, he should change it to what? Wajib, haram, according to the general themes and aspirations of the Quran. For example, what are some of the general themes of the Quran? Establishing justice, protecting lives, protecting the blood of people, protecting lives of people, protecting the wealth of people. These are general themes of the Quran. These are the general themes of fiqh. So when he sets a law, it's according to these guidelines, according to these general themes. Let me give you an example. وَصَلَّى عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَآلِ مُحَمَّدٍ. Imagine a painting by Vincent van Gogh. A beautiful painting. And you see the texture, the colors, what he's drawn, very beautiful, and it has a specific theme. The painting has a specific theme. However, right in the middle of the painting, there's an area that he forgot to paint. He forgot to paint. He gives you the brush, he tells you, you paint that area. Now it is your job, a painting by Van Gogh or Michelangelo or Da Vinci or one of these great painters. It's a great painting, but there's an area unpainted. Unpainted. It's left by itself. He tells you, I want you to fill the gap. I want you to come and paint in that area. What do you paint? What do you paint? Let's say it's a painting of mountains, waterfalls, a beautiful waterfall in the middle of mountains, and there's a lake, there's trees, there's beautiful things in there, but in the middle there's a gray area, there's an empty area. What are you going to paint? A car? Or a laptop? Or an airplane? What are you going to paint? You are going to paint according to the general theme of the painting. According to the general theme of the painting. If there's mountains and waterfalls and lakes, you will try to put in what you think the original painter wanted in this area. You see? This is the mujtahid. A mujtahid in the gray area, he doesn't choose arbitrarily when he changes mubah into haram or mubah into wajib. It's not based on his personal interests or personal whims. He has to look at the overall theme of the sharia, the overall theme of the fiqh. Now in this gray area where the sharia has told him, you have leeway, you have authority. In the mubahat, if you feel it is necessary, there's a necessity, there's a greater good, there's a grave danger to change them into mubah and to change mubah into wajib or haram, you have to follow the general theme, so that it fits in perfectly with the sharia. It fits in perfectly with the sharia. Sallu ala Muhammad wa alayhi. This means that a mujtahid who wants to exercise his right to fill in the gaps in the gray area in al-mantaqat al-faragh has to have a strong grasp of what? Tafsir, understanding of Quran, understanding of the general themes of the Quran. What is the Quran trying to say? What is the general spirit of the Quran? General spirit of the Quran. Let me give you an example. What do you mean by general spirit of the Quran? We have some narrations. Some of them are sahih, some of them are weak. And I've discussed this 2 Muharrams ago when I was in Birmingham in 2021, Muharram of 2021. Do we have racist narrations in Islam? Do we have racist narrations in Shia Islam? We have some narrations that say, for example, do not buy and sell from Kurds. Do not marry Kurds. You know, Kurds, there's Kurds in Iraq, there's Kurds in Syria, there's Kurds in Turkey, there's Kurds in Iran. They're a nationality. There's narrations that say don't buy and sell from them. Do not marry them. Other narrations mention others that I don't want to get into. Some even mention Hind, Sind, Barbar, several. Qind, meaning from Kandahar and other places. Now, how do we deal with these narrations? How do we deal with these narrations? Do we accept these narrations? Do we not accept these narrations? Here, 2 scholars, Al-Shaheed Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr and Al-Sayyid al-Sistani, hafidhullah. Al-Shaheed al-Sadr, rahmatullahi alayh, and Al-Sayyid al-Sistani. They say we do not accept these narrations. Why? Because they conflict with the spirit of the Quran, with the overall spirit of the Quran. When you read the Quran from cover to cover, you will learn that in Islam there's no difference between an Arab and a Kurd, and someone from India, someone from Pakistan, for someone from Africa. Everyone is the same. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا. O people, we have created you from men and women, or from a man and a woman, and we made you into tribes. Allah is saying, we made you into tribes. And then there's a hadith that says, don't buy and sell from an Indian or a Kurd or... We made you into tribes and nations. Why? So that you may meet. لِتَعَارَفُ, so that you may meet. So that you may appreciate one another, understand one another, work with one another. And then, إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. The most honorable of you is the pious. Is the pious. In another verse, Allah says, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Amongst His signs is the creation of the skies and earth. خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. وَاخْتِلَافِ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ اخْتِلَافُ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ وَأَلْوَانِكُم. The difference in your language and your tongues, this is among the signs of God. So our diversity is meant to divide us, or we are meant to celebrate our diversity? Our different colors, our different tongues. It is meant to be celebrated because Allah says this is amongst His signs. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ. The overall spirit of the Quran. صلوا على محمد وعلى محمد. The purpose of this theory that was formulated by Shaheed Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr rahmatullah alayh is to show that Sharia is applicable at all times and in all places. Yes, even in the United States of America. In 2023, the Sharia is applicable. It is never outdated. The Sharia will never be outdated. It is always compatible with technology. It is compatible with changing times. It is applicable at all times. Although times are changing, the world is changing, but the Sharia is accommodating. It is accommodating. How? Because the Sharia has given the authority of a mujtahid, if he feels it is important, to change some of the mubahat, yes. To change something from wajib to haram, he cannot. Something from haram to wajib, he has no authority. But something from mubah to wajib or haram, he has that authority. That means that Sharia is accommodating. Sharia keeps updated. Just like our iPhone every 2 months, 3 months, you receive an update so that your iPhone doesn't remain outdated, it remains updated. So too is Sharia. Because it gives that authority to the mujtahid to see what he feels is fit for the time, for his times. It gives leeway to the mujtahid to exert his authority when needed. You see, my dear friends, and this is the theory of Shaheed al-Sadr. He says that the Sharia cannot give fixed laws for changing times. This is not possible. We human beings, we have fixed needs and we have changing needs. Fixed needs require fixed laws. Changing needs, they require changing laws. Laws that are temporary. And I will give you an example in a minute. It is illogical to give fixed laws to changing circumstances. For example, the economy. The economy is always changing. The market goes up, the market goes down. Today you've made an investment in this company, tomorrow you've made an investment in, they say, for humor, they say that those who invest in the stock market, their worst meal is breakfast. Because as soon as they wake up in the morning and they turn on TV and they see stocks have gone up, stocks have gone down. When they go down, we understand why breakfast becomes the worst meal of the day. But when stocks go up, also, why? Because you will regret, why didn't I buy more? Why didn't I do a bigger investment? So with the stock market going up and down, with an economy that is uncertain, that is ever-changing, it needs laws that are changing, laws that are compatible with changing times. For example, laws of driving. Laws of driving can change in Islam. Yes, and there are laws of driving in Islam because Islam is encompassing. The Sharia is encompassing. Anything that we do, it has laws. Today there's new mu'amalat. Today, for example, there's life insurance. Do you think that Islam did not discuss life insurance? Life insurance didn't exist at the time of Rasulullah. But today our ulama, they have a fatwa regarding life insurance. They have a fatwa regarding all of the new transactions that exist today. Mortgages didn't exist at the time of Rasulullah. Nor did credit cards. Nor did, a lot of the things debit cards, a lot of these things didn't exist. But today, they exist and our ulama have fatwa. Where did they bring their fatwa from? From, the top of their head? Or because they base their fatwa on the Quran and on the Sunnah, because the Quran and Sunnah address these things, but they address them generally. Not specifically, but they address them generally. So fixed circumstances require fixed laws. Changing circumstances require changing laws. Let me give you an example. During the times of COVID, everyone had to wear a mask. Maybe you had to wear gloves. Maybe there was social distancing. We had to take people's temperature. You need to get vaccinations. You need a vaccine. Were these permanent laws or temporary laws? Temporary laws. for a year, 2 years. We had these temporary laws. And when that situation ended, so too ended the laws. Here, the Sharia gives the mujtahid the authority to develop temporary laws for changing circumstances. So this is the beauty of Sharia. This is the beauty of Sharia. That is why wearing a mask, it was a temporary law. It was not a fixed law. It was not a federal law. That is why today the choice is yours. Would you like to wear a mask or you don't want to wear a mask? In Islam too, it gives the mujtahid the ability to interfere in such cases. This is the beauty of Islam. وصلوا على محمد وآل محمد. My dear friends, that is why jurists in Islam, they are the protectors of Islam. They are the ones who they serve Islam and they protect Islam. Islam needs to be protected. Ijtihad protects Islam. When a jurist evaluates a new law and introduces a new law or introduces an old law as he deems fit, this is protection of Islam. That is why our ulama, our fuqaha, humat ad-din, they protect Islam, they preserve it. They make sure that Islam is applicable at all times and all places. Islam never remains outdated. This is the job of our ulama. And hence, midadul ulama khayrun min dima'i shuhada. That the pen and ink, the ink of a alim is greater than the blood of a shaheed. They both serve Islam. They both serve Islam. The blood of a shaheed serves Islam, and the ink of a shaheed also serves Islam. A shaheed serves Islam and an alim serves Islam. What would you say about a shaheed who was also an alim? What would you say about that? A shaheed who was also an alim, like Habib ibn Mudahir al-Asadi. Habib ibn Mudahir al-Asadi. When he fell on the day of Ashura, when Imam Hussein ran to him, the first thing that he said to him was, كنت فقيها تختم القرآن في ليلة. Ya Habib. Habib was a scholar. Habib was a alim. Habib was a jurist, a faqih, who would recite the entire Quran every single night. Every single night. Habib ibn Mudahir was in Kufa. He receives a letter from Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He was sitting with his wife. He reads the letter. His wife tells him, Ya Habib, who is the note from? He said, it is from my master, Abi Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. What does he want? He is inviting me to help him and to support him. His wife says, yes, Ya Habib, yes. This is an opportunity for you to support Hussein and an opportunity for me to support Fatima al-Zahra. He said, no, but how can I leave you? You are by yourself. How can I leave you? She said, you will stay with me. I will not allow you. You will go and support Hussein and I will support Fatima al-Zahra. Habib ibn Mudahir, he said, yes, I was testing you. I was testing your patience. I will go. He told his servant, prepare my horse at the entrance of the city and wait for me until I come. And then he went to his son. He told him, my son, I leave you behind. You will take care of your mother. He went. He went out to the city. He saw his servant preparing the horse. The servant did not see Habib ibn Mudahir. The servant spoke to the horse. He said, oh horse, if your master does not come, I will ride you and I will go towards Hussein ibn Ali to support him. Habib ibn Mudahir, when he heard this, he began to cry. He said, Ya Aba Abdullah, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Even servants and slaves want to support your path, Ya Aba Abdullah. And then he told him, you are free for the sake of Allah. He said, no, my master, you go to heaven and you want me to go to hell, to the path of hell, I will come with you. Habib gets on his horse and his slave gets on the horse with him and they go towards Karbala. It was the 8th of Muharram. Imam Hussein alayhi salam was already in Karbala. He was passing out the banners. He was passing out the rayat, the banners. There was one banner left. Everyone was saying, Ya Aba Abdullah, give me the banner. Give me the honor of holding the banner. He said, no, the owner of the banner will come soon. Moments later, from towards Kufa, there was dust in the air. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he saw commotion. What is happening? Imam Hussein alayhi salam told his companions, قُومُوا وَاسْتَقْبِلُوا شَيْخَكُمْ. قوموا واستقبلوا سيدكم. Get up and greet your leader. Get up and greet your Shaykh Habib ibn Mudahir. Habib ibn Mudahir arrives to Karbala. He comes down from his horse. He comes towards Imam Hussein alayhi salam and he sits on his knees. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Imam Hussein gives him the banner. Everyone was happy that Habib ibn Mudahir has arrived to Karbala. Sayyidah Zainab comes out from her tent. She sees Ali al-Akbar, my son Ali, who has come. He said, my aunt Habib ibn Mudahir al-Asadi has joined us in Karbala. He has just arrived from Kufa. Zainab says to Ali al-Akbar, go to Habib ibn Mudahir and give him my salam. Ali al-Akbar comes to Habib ibn Mudahir. He says, Ya Am, my uncle Habib, my aunt Zainab sends her salams to you. Habib ibn Mudahir kneeled on the ground. He grabbed some sand and he started pouring it on his head. He said, who am I for the daughter of Ali ibn Abi Talib to send her salam upon me? Habib ibn Mudahir, he goes to Imam Hussein. He says, Sayyidi, give me permission to go say salam to Zainab. He comes next to the tent. Assalamu alaikum, ya ahl bayt al-nubuwah wa mawdi' al-risalah. Assalamu alayki ya Zainab. Zainab comes out. Wa alayka assalam ya Am, ya Habib. Peace be upon you, my uncle Habib. Alayka bihadha al-gharib. Oh Habib, take care of this gharib, Hussein, this lonely person. Do not let him fight on his own. Fight along with him. Habib ibn Mudahir told her, لَأَنْعُمَنَّكِ عَيْنَا, I will make you proud. I will make sure that you will be proud of me and my comrades, my colleagues. Habib, one by one on the day of Ashura, they entered the battlefield. Habib ibn Mudahir falls. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Imam Hussein rushes to him along with Muslim ibn Awsaja. He sits next to Habib. Rahimakallah ya Habib. كنت فقيها تختم القرآن في ليلة. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العلي الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا عيبا إلا سترته ولا خوفا إلا آمنته ولا رزقا إلا بسطته ولا شملا إلا جمعته ولا مرضا إلا شفيته ولا غائبا إلا حفظته وأدنيته ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة لك فيها رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها ويسرتها يا أرحم الراحمين. ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات نقرأ سورة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.